Horizon Chess, Home Studio Reaction. This is the Israel-Hamas war, what we know so far by channel Kings in General. Yes, Kings in General is another channel, like Real Life Lore, that basically I know of, let's just say. So it's interesting that they posted this video. I guess Kings in General do cover ongoing conflict type of thing. So does Real Life Lore, but Real Life Lore is more like a, not update wise, it's just like one grand video. I guess he'll post it in the future or something. But yeah, this what we know so far, I guess this was posted just yesterday, and I don't have details about what is happening past few days. I only know detail about the videos I watched, which was like really early, like a week ago or something. So current times, I don't know what's happening, but I do know some details about this war, which is kind of like fucked up. Let's just say what is happening is really all-out wars, right? Obviously, Hamas is at the fault here when they launch all those missiles at Israel like that, just point blank at the civilians, and that's just fucked up. Of course, retaliation was gonna come, but at the same time, I also think that the way Israel just basically, as far as I know, they're just attacking Gaza and everything, just point blank, just destroying any other building. It's like, man, that's just fucked up, right? I mean, strategically attacking just Hamas bases and things like that, those kind of response makes sense. But eye for an eye type of mentality doesn't work. War crimes are still war crimes. So, there's also reports of way too many civilians who are dead in Gaza, basically, telling them to basically run to north or something. That's just like, I don't know. Right, in this conflict, obviously, Hamas is at the fault, like I said. But I guess response should have been more better, I guess. There are many countries in the, even in the recent history, who's made a horrible mistake, even with something like retaliation. Even though it's their right, technically, it's their right to basically respond, just as a national security thing. But I don't know. I feel like, just point blank attacking civilians is like eye for an eye, like I said, type of thing. It just like doesn't fit right. But I don't know. This is the news so far. I don't know if there's more detail about this or not. I don't know. I can hope the Kings in General covers it in this video. So let's go soon. Remember, people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction. This is a link in the description. And yeah, that's what you did.
On the morning of October 7th, Israel awoke to a shocking attack by Hamas. In the past few days, the world has witnessed the most significant escalation of the Israel-Palestine war since the 1973 Yom Kippur War. As of October 10th, thousands of civilians and combatants on both sides have already been confirmed dead, and the death toll will undoubtedly only rise. Due to the gravity of unfolding events and the sheer scale of violence, this is already much bigger than another short-term burst of confrontation. It is yet another full-scale war between Israel and Palestine, which has the potential to alter the geopolitical situation in the Middle East. Welcome to our video about the war between Israel and Hamas, where we describe the situation on the ground and look at what can happen next. This video is made possible thanks to the
What surprised me is that weird support people showed. It's like, one thing I've noticed in the recent history is that people have really like shaky moral, principles, which I don't know what they hold really strong and have opinion based on that, which is like, I still can't get that. But doesn't matter what it is, you still has to have like a base moral code, right? I guess. In the end, if an organization like Hamas, terrorist organization, basically point blank without any provocation attacks a country with a lot of missiles and kills a civilian, they are the wrong. You don't need to have opinions. Basically, that's just point blank. They are wrong. But I've seen in US and many basically college, one thing I've noticed in past multiple years is like all this newer generation teenagers, they're just losing their fucking mind with many issues. So it's not surprising me that they are going to be like this. They're just like free Palestine. It's like no something on stolen land. And this was from some college from Connecticut. It's like, do you know what Connecticut word means? Do you see the irony? And second of all, that's not the point here. The point is Hamas has basically attacked Israel and its civilians and killed them, right? They are the one wrong here. And you're still going to bring up like, Palestine is the wrong here and a free Palestine. We are in support of Palestine or something. Like, do you understand people died? Do you understand there was a terror attack by the people you're trying to support right now? Right? It's not just simple as like this and this. I think they didn't know any detail, and they just like, okay, I'm gonna have a flag of Palestine, I'm gonna support them just so I can get more clicks on social media or some shit. Like, come on. And there is also a news anchor guy who was just like cheering when he saw all this like devastation in Gaza and things like, yeah, do you understand, people died there? It's unfortunate, all of this is unfortunate, right? Regardless of who's right and wrong, both sides, civilians are hurting right now. You're not supposed to cheer. What's wrong with you?
Generous support of our YouTube members and patrons. Their contributions are the backbone of our work. As a token of our appreciation, our patrons and YouTube members enjoy 2 exclusive videos every week. Currently, they have access to a complete series on Xenophon's Anabasis, the First Punic War, History of Prussia, Italian Unification Wars, Risorgimento, and numerous other fun videos. Additionally, our Pacific War series is ongoing, and we're excited to announce the release of a new series on the Russo-Japanese War and Albigensian Crusades, and much more, exclusively for our backers. If you want to join this fantastic community, you can find the links in the video description and pinned comment. By becoming a patron or YouTube member, you'll gain access to exclusive videos, early access to all our public content, release schedules, wallpapers, and an invitation to our active Discord server, where we engage in lively discussions. Your support is invaluable, and we sincerely thank you for making our work possible. At around 6:30 AM local time in Israel, Hamas, formerly known as the Islamic Resistance Movement, currently governing over the Gaza Strip, launched a massive barrage of some 5,000 rockets on Israeli cities to start its Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. Simultaneously, they destroyed Israeli observation towers and weapons systems on the border by launching drones modified to carry explosives. This enabled Hamas militants to use paragliders to fly over the border and enter Israel. The breach of the Israeli border fence was complete when other Hamas members blew holes in the fence moments later using explosives. Hundreds of militants entered southern Israel on motorbikes and cars. Hamas also conducted an amphibious landing near Zikim. On October 10th, the Israeli military claimed that roughly
There are videos of people pleading to these Hamas terrorists, like, don't kill me, this and that, when they take hostages. How, in any sense, I still can't get it, like how people can support Hamas or Palestine, basically supporting Hamas here. Like, I still don't understand that. How can there be two different support here? Like, regardless of where you stand on the issue of Palestine and Israel, in this current conflicts, Hamas is clearly wrong. The strike from Palestine is clearly wrong. Like, there is no debate over that shit. How can you support one another?
1,500 Hamas fighters were killed during the incursion into Israel, which shows the scale of the incursion. The head of the military wing of Hamas, Mohammed Daif, stated on the first day of the attack that it was in response to the Israeli occupation, the desecration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the killing of Palestinians. However, there is an opinion that the motivation behind the Hamas attack was to shock the Israeli public and show that the Palestinian issue has not been resolved. Another motivation was to dissuade Arab countries like Saudi Arabia from signing normalization agreements with Israel. The Israeli government and the army were caught completely unprepared. It is very difficult to understand how the Mossad intelligence agency had missed preparations for an operation of such magnitude, although Gaza is under uninterrupted surveillance by Israel. Egyptian officials had reportedly warned the Israeli government about the preparations of Hamas for something big, but since the information was not...
That's the question of failure of Mossad. Mossad is known for really strong intelligence, rivaling most leading intelligence agencies of the world. How is that possible? Or is it possible? All the conspiracy in tinfoil hell starts like, did they know it and allowed it to happen, all that shit, right? There was also, I don't know, something I watched that said that even Israel was paying, some of the, how that political aid or whatever thing like that to, Hamas or something years before. It's just like, why would that happen? So there is also tinfoil hat conspiracy element going on. Like, did Mossad knew but chose not to do something about it or something? Just needed an excuse to fight back or something. There's all the theories are throwing around.
Concrete, it was ignored. And according to the Israeli government, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was not informed about it. The Israelis were expecting trouble in the West Bank due to the recent wave of violence and concentrated most of its standing army there, leaving the Gaza border practically undefended. Numerous media reports quoting sources from Israel claimed that they simply did not expect any escalation from Gaza. Merely 10 days before the start of this war, Israel reached an agreement with Hamas through intermediaries, reopening the border crossing and allowing Gazan laborers to work in Israel. On the first day of the hostilities, Hamas militants breached the border fence in 7 different locations to infiltrate more than 20 Israeli border villages and cities. At 10 a.m., the Israeli military reported that Hamas had penetrated several military installations: the Erez border crossing base, the Zikim military base, the Nahal Oz military base, and the headquarters of the Gaza division. Militants captured Israeli tanks, armored vehicles, and other types of equipment. Hamas also took over the police station in Sderot. The Israeli military was caught entirely off guard and did not have nearly enough soldiers to repel the Hamas attacks. This left civilians in many Israeli localities and communities practically defenseless against the terrorist attacks of Hamas. Hundreds of civilians, including children, were killed indiscriminately in Sderot, Ashkelon, Nir Oz, Be'eri, Kfar Aza, Netiv HaAsara, Ofakim, and other areas near the Gaza Strip. At least 260.
See, when I hear things like this, like how can people support Hamas at this point? Like, can this be more terrorism than you see it? Like, is this possible? They didn't just attack, they take hostages, kill everybody, include children, like a lot of numbers. Like, this is insane. And people like, we are with Palestine, basically we are with Hamas. How the fuck is that possible? First of all, Palestine and Hamas, there was a poll that all Palestinians, majority of them don't support Hamas. Even though they support the leader of Hamas, which is like, I don't know, but they don't support Hamas themselves, right? So not all Palestinians are represented by Hamas. But the fact is Hamas from Palestine attacked all this shit. It's understandable, like people are just, as an overall issue, like we stand with Palestine because of they think that, Israel basically stole ground or whatever, their whatever view is. But at this current conflict, at this point, Hamas is the one at wrong. You're not supposed to we're with Palestine, things like that. It sends the wrong message, like you're with Hamas or some shit. That's not right. Look at all this shit, man. Look at all
60 participants of a music festival near Re'im were massacred. Hamas roamed the streets, shooting civilians outdoors or in their homes. They burned houses, wreaked havoc, and terrorized the people until the Israeli soldiers arrived to fight them back. As of October 13th, over 1,000 Israeli civilians were killed and more than 3,000 were wounded.
Are you kidding me right now?
According to Hamas, some 150 Israelis and foreigners have been taken hostage in this attack. In these attacks, some Hamas militants reached as far as 24 kilometers from the border, and that shook Israeli society to its foundation. The full extent of the massacre of civilians Hamas perpetrated is unknown. A few hours after the start of the Hamas attack, the Israeli government started to act. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that Israel was now at war, started by Hamas. Israeli civilians near the Gaza Strip were evacuated. The mobilization of 300,000 reservists was ordered, as the standing army units were sent to expel Hamas militants from the infiltrated areas. The Israel Defense Force, the IDF, reported the launch of Operation Iron Swords, aiming to eradicate Hamas and other radical groups in Gaza. Israel's Security Cabinet declared the adoption of a series of operational decisions aimed at bringing about the destruction of the military and governmental capabilities of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The Israeli government decided to cut the supply of electricity, fuel, water, and goods to Gaza. By late October 8th, the IDF retook control of all areas infiltrated by Hamas, although they did not rule out that some militants might still be present near the border areas. It is clear from the statements of Netanyahu, his government, and the Israeli military that their intention is to completely wipe out Hamas and eliminate any threat coming from Gaza. Netanyahu has called Gaza the City of Evil and promised to turn all the places Hamas is hiding in and operating from into a ruin. He recommended residents of Gaza to leave now. Gaza has been under blockade by Israel and Egypt for...
Look, telling all the civilians of Gaza to basically leave is unrealistic, but at the same time, look, if you're gonna have this kind of a major scale attack, killing of the civilians, literal terrorist organization coming from you, I understand all the civilians that are caught there in the Gaza is kind of fucked up, but what is Israel going to do, right? how are they going to retaliate? Like, they can't just fight back and just take back what they lost, whatever ground, and just go back home, right? This is going to happen again. They have to basically go all in, right? Try to remove Hamas completely. And in order to do that, there's going to be a lot of damage around the city. So all they can say is just like leave the city or something, even though it doesn't matter how unrealistic it might be. That's the problem. See, there are no good answers sometimes. It's fucked up, right? They can try, they can try to, do more or less surgical strikes and things. I don't know if they're doing that or just point blank just attacking city. I don't know. I'm hoping that they might be doing more of a surgical strikes with the intel they know of, rather than just randomly attacking city, because that's just like same thing that Hamas did. So, it's like how you retaliate is going to matter through, for history at least, right? How people are going to see you going forward, that will matter.
For more than a decade, and Cairo has stated it is going to allow 2,000 refugees per day, which is a paltry number considering Gaza's 2 million population. The Israeli defense minister has called Hamas militants human animals and told his soldiers in a broadcast that he was lifting any restrictions on their actions in Gaza. The IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari has stated that the emphasis of the Israeli shelling of Gaza is on damage and not accuracy. The statements of the Israeli officials clearly demonstrate that they intend to retaliate against Hamas in the most forceful of ways, which could exacerbate the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has acknowledged...
See, the revenge mentality doesn't work at global scale, right? Eye for an eye doesn't work. Like, this is all just fucked up. Whenever you're like a leader of a country or doing something like this, they attacked us, so we are just going to attack them point blank. That doesn't work, right? I don't know. I mean, in the end, in long run, people are going to be like, Hamas is the one who was the aggressor, so it's understandable. But still, it's fucked up, right? All the civilians that had nothing to do with this also going to get caught in the middle of this? Come on.
Israel's legitimate security concerns, but also urged them to conduct military operations in strict accordance with the international humanitarian law. As of October 14, Israel has not started the ground offensive on Gaza, but it seems inevitable. For now, the Israeli military has been pounding the Gaza Strip heavily and regularly causing massive destruction. The Palestinian Ministry of Health claimed that 1,600 Palestinians, including 600 children, have been killed by Israeli shelling and airstrikes. Residential buildings, a hospital, and other...
Come on, man. Eye for an eye shit. I don't agree with that. In the end, regardless of all this country and border bullshit, these are humans. Like, you can't answer terrorism with terrorism. Like, that's... Come on. This is all just fucked up. It's all unfortunate, man.
Civilian facilities have been destroyed. Several Hamas leaders have been reportedly killed in the airstrikes so far. The Hamas representative, Abu Ubaidah, vowed to respond with the execution of a hostage every time an airstrike hits Gaza. So far, this has not dissuaded Israel from shelling Gaza. The words of the Israeli officials indicate that the shelling will continue until they deem conditions sufficient for a ground assault. Hamas has also been regularly launching rocket barrages on Israeli cities. Civilian areas in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Ashkelon, Herzliya, and many other localities have been targeted. The Israel Air Defense System, Iron Dome, specifically designed to counter short-range missiles, has so far been largely successful in dealing with Hamas shelling. But the sheer number of rockets launched on Israel makes it practically impossible to destroy all Hamas rockets, which have resulted in casualties among Israeli civilians. Israel looks determined to retaliate against Hamas as strongly as possible. The ground assault on besieged Gaza looks like a matter of time, as Israel keeps rolling its tanks closer to the war zone. Israeli officials have warned the public to prepare for a long war, as the complete destruction of Hamas and other militant groups in Gaza would be a grueling and costly task. Hamas has a network of underground tunnels that it can utilize to survive the Israeli airstrikes, along with inflicting as much damage as possible on the IDF.
So are you fucking telling me right now that all the Israel attack, like, most of them were not even hitting this Hamas terrorist organization because they were underground? It's just innocent civilians have been dying. Some of Hamas died. Is that what you're telling me? I just hate this, man. Is there any more fucked up, friction than anything in basically Middle East, basically Israel-Palestine war? Like, we've known this for years. Like, this is one of the most fucked up, crises there is. Like, it becomes hard to, basically see like good and bad and basically see the line, because atrocities happen from all sides. And in here, it's like eye for an eye shit is happening. I don't know, man.
Any long war has the potential to escalate beyond the borders of the battlefield and spill over to other countries. Netanyahu has claimed that Israel's response to an attack from Gaza will change the Middle East, without elaborating on what exactly that meant. The United States has expressed its unequivocal support to Israel, promising military aid and ordering the newest USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and the Ford Carrier Strike Group to sail to the shores of Israel. With another,
I mean, US needs to talk to Israel and like, we're gonna support you, but you need to do this more humanitarian way, rather than just point blank shelling Gaza left and right, killing children and shit. There has to be more of things like that. Like, a lot of countries, even India, is supporting Israel, but not to just point blank have a revenge mentality and attack everything, right? That's just fucked up.
other carrier group rumored to be
Surgical
joining it
strikes
soon.
are important.
US President Biden has strongly warned against any third parties joining the war against Israel. To any country, any organization, anyone thinking of taking advantage of the situation, I have one word: don't. Biden most probably means Iran, or Iran-backed Hezbollah operating from Lebanon. So far, both parties have offered their complete support to Hamas, but do not appear likely to directly join the war, at least in the short term.
I'm pretty sure I saw the news where Iran, whatever leader's name was, said that stop shelling of Gaza or else, something like that. There was like a very recent news. So there is that apparently. That's just fucked up.
Both Israel and the United States have downplayed the claims of Iranian orchestration behind the Hamas attack. Nobody doubts that Hamas is backed and sponsored by Tehran, but so far, the official statements indicate that there is no evidence to prove the direct and hands-on participation of Iran in the attack on Israel. Still, Iran's supreme religious leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has warned Israel that attacking Gaza will bring a greater calamity to Israel. Iran will be happy to draw Israel into a prolonged war without having to directly take part in it. But this does not rule out using its proxies, like Hezbollah, to create a second front for Israel at some point. So far, Hezbollah has been careful, and apart from several artillery and rocket exchanges, the northern front has been quiet for Israel. Hezbollah's direct involvement in the form of a ground assault against Israel may lead to heavy retaliation not only against Hezbollah, but possibly against Iran as well. Such a scenario would be a major escalation of the war in the Middle East,
Seriously,
potentially
way too
leading
big.
to an incredibly risky situation.
The problem with that is US will have to get involved, because I don't think Israel can handle both fronts like that. If that happens, then other Muslim countries might involve as well. This whole Middle East thing becomes much worse if that happens. How fucked up is this current time, man?
Thus, Hezbollah's attack against Israel does not seem imminent at this point, which does not mean that it won't happen, particularly if the war is long indeed. Hezbollah is much bigger and more powerful than Hamas. It has tens of thousands of militants in its ranks, along with thousands of rockets, and a certain reputation for managing to keep the IDF at bay in the 2006 Lebanon war. Therefore, Israel will keep a large contingent of its army on the border with Lebanon to be ready for any incursions from Hezbollah. The sides have exchanged fire since the start of the war, and there were additional claims that Israeli positions in the occupied Golan Heights were under fire too, so it is a good idea to keep looking for developments on this front. We are still in the first days of the war, started by an unexpected and devastating attack by Hamas on Israel and its civilians. This is the biggest escalation of the Israel-Palestine conflict since the 1973 Yom Kippur War. There have been more than 5,000 civilian and military casualties already on both sides. Both Israel and Hamas are bracing for a long war, which has the potential to draw in other countries and reshape the geopolitical situation in the Middle East. More episodes on this topic are on the way, as we collect more information as we...
Oh, for God's sakes, this is fucked up. What is happening with this current time, man? 2020 started with a fucking COVID, then Ukraine-Russian war kicked off, and now this Middle Eastern crisis started again. Like, this has just been 3 years, man. This many shit in 3 years? In 2040, 2050, if things, basically dial down, this timeline, what we're living right now, would be seen as a timeline of turmoil. Like, this is insane. A pandemic, a major war in Europe, another major war coming to Middle East. Who the fuck knows? Maybe a year or two after, China might decide to attack India. Who the fuck knows for the whatever border skirmishes that's happening in the past few years. I hope Israel is more like smart with retaliation, because all what aboutism started because both sides, you can find fault at both sides. One side might have bigger fault than the other one, but that doesn't matter whenever somebody brings up what aboutism, right? That's the problem. Israel needs to be more surgical and more careful with it. If they just point blank attack Gaza and everything, just eye for an eye mentality, it's going to be really hard in the world stage to justify even Israel's actions, right? So there's going to be split who supports who, right? If Israel does it more better way, right, at least in the world stage, it can be shown like Israel's not at fault. But as far as I see right now, like, even their minister said that they are not really, worrying about directed attack or whatever, and just like 600 plus children dead and this and that. It's just like, come on, man, you can do better than that. Come on, you can be more surgical than this. I don't know. This is horrible. Iran, backing Hamas. I think Russia is also backing Hamas. This is just like, and also to me, just like, this all has a whiff of conspiracy behind it, right? Because isn't it like I said, like Ukraine-Russia war just happened very recently, and this is the time when Middle East war also starts. Like, there is no connection here, right? Maybe they were waiting for some war to fight out, and they're like, we can do this too, or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, this kind of war, you hear about this, like, there's a first war since some war like 1970s. There's first war since 1950s. Why now? Why in this span of 3 years? It's either because, they saw Ukraine-Russian war is like, this is the time to strike or some shit. I don't know. Because of global turmoil or whatever. Because, they know US is kind of busy sending arms and things to, Ukraine-Russia, so they'll be weak or something. I don't know. Or is there more bigger conspiracy behind it? Who the fuck knows? All the tinfoil head comes out whenever you see shit like this. But yeah, it's just horrible for both sides. All the civilian dead, all the Iranian basically got captured. I saw, that footage, and it's just like, still kind of haunting to me whenever I think about it. There was a girl, whatever. I don't know the age. Brizzo was an adult that they captured, was taking them on bike, and she was pleading, "Don't kill me." Basically, one of the hostage. And they said like, we're gonna kill a hostage every time there's a bombing. It's like, this shit is happening now. Right, this shit is happening now as we speak here. Like, this is insane whenever I think about it. All right, well, that was the Israel-Hamas war, what we know so far about Channel Kings in general. I guess I'll see you next time.